are now listening to the Pelicans post-game report. Flash report.
Shout out to the fam, man. Appreciate y'all being in this episode of the Pelican post-game report, Flash report. Please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and feel free to share the show on your social media feed. What's popping, fam? A long season, man. And guess what? Pelicans have to improve, man. After a 49-win season, 0-4 right on out of the playoffs door, lickety split, no fire in their belly, none of that. We know that. Now things have to change. And we covered it on our end of the season show. Y'all feel, if you didn't check that out, please feel free to check that out. But there's a lot to do if you're a Pelican, especially for David Griffin and Tracy Langdon and the staff. They have to go over this team and figure out what they're going to do after a lackluster playoff series. They're at the end of the window in terms of player personnel. BI's contract is coming up for the max extension. As it appears, it wouldn't be wise to go in that direction. You might want to look in a different direction and might want to look at giving the young gunner, Trey Murphy, an opportunity, perhaps a Najee Marshall return. Maybe the Pelicans also need to look at the point guard position. They need a table setter that can help out there. This point guard by committee approach isn't all that. We need a table setter. Do they have that? Could they develop a guy like that on the team? It's a lot of questions of stuff. We need a big that fits Willie Green's system, who can rotate and switch on and all this kind of stuff. Athletic guy that can shot block. Can the Pelicans get that? A lot of stuff is shaking. There's a lot of trades that's out there that involves the Atlanta and the New Orleans Pelicans. So, I mean, it's a lot of stuff to talk about. But in this episode of the show, we try to get through this one quick, and I don't want this one to be a long one, but it's an interesting article from Christen Clark of NOLA.com saying the Pelicans and Thunder hit the reset button at the same time. Why is OKC zoomed ahead? Well, the quick answer to that, without even reading this whole article, to be honest with you, and I haven't read the article, is to be honest with you, Sam Presti. It's a big difference. That's a hell of a difference between who we got at the top. We got a guy that actually knows how to build teams, who knows what he's doing. He's done it several times over. And we got a guy in our staff that's more of a propagandist. Won a title, but a lot of people credits LeBron James for that because LeBron was telling them what to do. So in the end, it's a bit of difference what's going on. He picked the right coaches. He got a G League coach that he developed into a hell of a coach. We have a coach that has done some positive things, but needs to work on himself as a strategist, needs to work on his rotations, need to stop being so damn stubborn and having more of a balanced approach and alternate forms and systems. When one system breaks down, you move from the other as opposed to double down on what's not working. I mean, just keeping it real, man. I know they listen to these shows, by the way. So anyway, let's cover this article, fam, if we please, from Christen Clark. And he goes into it. I won't read the whole article. I'm going to just give you the gist of it. Within a 1 month span of the summer of 2019, Anthony Davis, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook got traded. The Pelicans, OKC both sent out all-star players who were ready for a change in their careers. True. The return, the Pelicans Thunder's looked strong on paper. The Pelicans received 3 players, B.I., Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, and 3 first-round picks from the Lakers for Davis. Thunder received from the Clippers 1 intriguing young player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 1 veteran, Gallinari, and a whopping 5 first-round draft picks for George. Then, when the Thunder moved Westbrook to Houston, its compensation was Chris Paul and 2 more first-round picks. They just stockpiled picks at this point, and watch what they did to them. The Pelicans and Thunders were in similar positions 5 years ago. Both teams needed reboots after runs with all NBA talent petered out. Even though the Pelicans won the draft lottery in 2019, putting them in a position to draft Zion, the Thunder has zoomed ahead of them. Why? How did it happen? The Thunder better top-end roster talent than the Pelicans. The Thunder developed and promoted one of the NBA's best coaches, and the Pelicans executive David Griffin argued OKC has paradoxically become so good because it spent 2 years trying not to win. That's not the case. What Pelicans been doing that shit just by default. The last couple of years we had some success, but not the kind of success we thought we should be having with this roster of talent. You can blame injuries all you want. One thing I think OKC did incredibly well for a fit perspective is those kids and young men got to develop an environment where winning didn't matter for a couple years. Griffin said, our team was consistently trying to win and development curve looked different. The trend looked different. Well, maybe you need to do what OKC been doing. Well, it's too late for that now. The different expectations. Williamson, that's a bunch of BS. Williamson had one of the best college seasons of anyone in 2019 at Duke. From the moment he stepped into the NBA, he was one of the league's most efficient volume scorers. He averaged 22 and a half points per game on 58.3 shooting as a rookie, and followed that up with 27 points a game, over 61% shooting his second season. He was so good as a teenager, the Pelicans tried to be competitive immediately. The Pelicans signed J.J. Redick and Derek Favors to free agent deals after Williamson's rookie season, then hired a 61-year-old Stan Van Gundy, that's something Presti wouldn't have done. He wouldn't have hired Stan Van Gundy. That was a stupid move. Griffin also kept Elvin Gentry, which was another stupid move when he came in. So he just wasted time. By the way, we were saying that was stupid to keep Elvin Gentry. He should have been fired. It was dumb to hire Stan Van Gundy, but they just screwed everything up early on, as opposed to getting a coach right away, somebody that was credible that can come in and build the culture. So we didn't have to dilly dally with old ass coaches. You get what I'm getting at? The Thunder slow played things. Shea was the 11th pick in the 2018 draft. He had a nice rookie season with the Clippers, averaging just under 11 points, but it was not good enough for him to finish in the top 5 in rookie year voting. The Canadian guard got incrementally better in his first 3 years with OKC, and in his last 2 seasons, he exploded. Shea will finish the top 3 in MVP voting this season. He averaged over 30 points a game, 5.5 rebounds, 6.2 assists, while leading the NBA in steals. The kid's awesome. Now, Shea had to endure a 22 and 24 win season before the Thunder started winning. Those 2 miserable years put the Thunder in position to place elite talent next to Shea. Chet Holmgren, a rim protecting 3-point shooting center, was a number 2 pick, and Holmgren and Jalen Williams, the 12th pick in the 22 draft, both outplayed Ingram and the Thunder in the first sweep of the Pelicans. It was unfortunate Williamson could not participate in the series because of his right hamstring issue, but it's impossible to know how much his presence could have tilted the outcome of the series. Now, it would have been competitive. I know that we wouldn't have gotten swept, and more than likely the series could have went 6 games with OKC still finishing out winning the series, because ultimately I think OKC is just a better team. You see what I'm saying? I think they would have figured a way to kind of get the game. You know what I'm saying? They would have figured out a way how to ultimately win the game. I think it would have went in 6. That OKC would have probably won the series in 6. While Williamson had strong regular season evidence from October through March was clear in showing that Shea is ahead of him as a player. The playoffs also made it obvious the Thunder's second and third best players are superior to what the Pelicans can boast. Then here comes the coaching, right? Needing to replace Billy Donovan in 2020, the Thunder looked internally and promoted assistant coach Mike Daigneault to the lead job. Daigneault's only 35 years of age. He spent 5 years as OKC's G League team before he got his break. In his last 3 years, the Thunder has gone from 24 to 40 to 57 wins. OKC finished first in the Western Conference, even though the average age on their roster is just almost 24 years. I'm sorry. Daigneault was voted coach of the year by his peers in the media. The Pelicans' path to identifying the right coach has been bumpier. The organization hired Griffin to be then coach Elvin Gentry's boss in 2019, which went poorly. Griffin and Gentry bumped heads within months of working with each other, and the Pelicans replaced Gentry with Van Gundy in 2020. The old school Van Gundy's approach was not well received by Pelicans' young roster. You know, Ingram didn't like him, and Van Gundy lasted 8 months before he was out. So David Griffin comes in, stupidly keeps Elvin Gentry when he should have cleared him out of there, and then dumbly that's right, that's a word. I'm creating it. He dumbly added Stan Van Gundy, who Stan Van Gundy hadn't coached in years. The last job he had working for an NBA team, he was an executive. Prior to that, man hadn't coached in years, and you take him and give him the job? Stupid, dumb, wasting time. And then anyway, he lasted 8 months. The best thing we got out of him was the point Zion system, which was the only the saving grace for what he gave to the Pelicans. In 2021, Willie Green took over the Pelicans, improved their win total every year he had been in charge. 49 regular season wins were tied for the second most in franchise history. Green has gotten the Pelicans to defend at a high level, except in the playoffs. They have finished sixth in the points allowed per 100 possessions in each of the last 2 seasons. Their offense has at times been underwhelming. The Pelicans finished 20 in offensive efficiency for 2 years ago. They jumped to 11th this season, but without Williamson in the playoffs, they looked hopeless. 93.5 points per 100 possessions they scored in the series against the Thunder was the worst offensive rating from the playoff team in 8 years. And it showed. The Pelicans at least enjoyed regular season success in 2024 and 2025. They're hoping to experience some playoff success the Thunder is having now. So it's a bit of a difference. The Thunder, instead of coming in and just, keeping the Pelicans under David Griffin, who's executives, this guy with all this experience, fiddle-faddle around with Gentry, fiddle-faddle around with Van Gundy, and ultimately got Willie Green. And remember, before they hired Willie Green, Jamal Mosley, who has the Orlando Magic's team, is doing some good work, and that's beating Willie's team competitively. If that's 0-26 or 0-27, whatever it is, the record when they losing going into the fourth quarter, is something that they need to really look at as a brain trust. If I won't use that, they need to really look at that, because the Pelicans could have had 55 plus. They could have had 55 plus wins if they knew how to close out these games. So I'm not going to make a long spiel about it, but this is an interesting article that showed the direction between OKC and the Pelicans from a historical standpoint. You had a really good administration at OKC who knew what they were doing and designing and building a good team using draft capital. We knew they were collecting picks. The Pelicans were collecting picks. Both of them had picks and had young talent. OKC has repetitively beat the Pelicans and pushed past them and are the number one team in the West, and they're not going anywhere. So what do we have to do here? The Pelicans have a lot of stuff that they have to figure out and do. We did have some positive draft picks, which Trey Murphy, Herb Jones. I like Dyson Daniels. His offensive game has got to come along. They did pick up some good undrafted talent like Jose Alvarado and Najee Marshall. Hope we can keep those guys. But the whole Jonas thing is a debacle. They have to figure out. So the Pelicans, if they can play this thing really straight, there are 2 areas of concern they have to look at in terms of who's going to be the center and where is he going to come from out of the draft. And we know Willie Green, when you get rookies, Willie Green has a problem playing it. So more than likely they have to figure it out. They got a cap situation that's going to be difficult. So the Pelicans, obviously, looks like to me that they're going to have to try to move BI. They're not going to give him the max. That's obvious. They're going to have to probably end up finding a trade partner for him. It's all this smoke and fire around Trey Young and all this kind of stuff. I don't know how it's going to go. It's still a lot to go on. It's rumors situating around BI and Philly, and I don't think that's going to happen because Philly don't have nothing to give us that we want for a trade. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now there that we have to look at going into the offseason. So it's going to be a very eventful and live offseason for the Pelicans. So, and we're going to cover it. So anyway, with that being said, I'm going to get out on that. Listen, I appreciate all of y'all for tuning in for this episode of the Pelican Flash Report. I just wanted to go over that article with you guys. Y'all let me know in the comment section, man, how y'all feel about this article and your thoughts on the Pelicans and what they should do. Y'all put it in the comment section. Let me know, and I'm out at you on the next one. Much love. Go Pelicans.
Subscribe now and stay up to date for all things New Orleans Pelicans.